guys, welcome back. It's Ange, and today I wanted to share with you my favorite books that I either read or was read to in junior high. So thankfully I had quite a few teachers who'd like to take a lot of time in class time and kind of set that aside to actually read books to us. And I really enjoyed that time, and a lot of the books from that became some of my favorite books in that middle grade junior high age. Along with the teachers reading to me, there's also a couple books I read on my own and really liked as a kid. The first book, unfortunately, I don't own a copy of it yet. I did find one on Amazon that I'm looking at eventually getting, and it is A Girl Who Owned a City by O.T. Nelson. This is a post-apocalyptic book where a virus has wiped out everybody over the age of 12, and gangs and little armies of kids have formed, causing havoc and chaos everywhere. It started as an effort to protect her brother, but 10-year-old Lisa finds herself as the leader of the kids on Grand Avenue. Because of her ingenuity and leadership skills, the kids have food and even toys in abundance. But to protect them from the older gangs, she comes up with the idea of a city or a fortress to protect these kids to keep them safe and happy. My teacher read this book to us when we were in grades 7 or 8. I can't remember exactly what grade I was in. And it was a really good read. We really enjoyed it. We couldn't wait for her to read the next chapter to us. I loved it. I loved the ingenuity of Lisa and how she figured things out and how she tried to come up with ways to lead these kids without being a bully like the other gangs and the other armies. That she truly cared for these kids, and a lot of it came from wanting to protect her own younger brother. The next book my teacher read to us was Holes by Louis Sachar. This book follows Stanley Yelnats, who believes his family is cursed, which is thanks to his no-good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather. And it follows his story how he ends up being kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time and ends up in Camp Green Lake with a bunch of other boys and ends up joining the boys of D-Tent. At this camp, the boys do nothing but dig holes in the desert all day. It is a dried out, deserted place. There is no lake, and they have to work every day, all day, and all they do is dig holes. The boys are told that they are digging holes for character improvement, but Stanley and his friends soon discover there's a lot more to it than that, and that the warden is looking for something. I loved this book as a kid because the main story intertwines with some other stories, and I loved how they all came together and all of the main characters are kind of connected through all of these stories. Even the side characters were humorous and funny and added so much to the story, and I absolutely loved it. It was made into a movie by Disney, and it was really well done. I also thoroughly enjoy the movie and recommend both of them. I would recommend reading the book first, then watching the movie. I also read She Said Yes by Mr. Bernal. She Said Yes is about Casey Bernal, who was one of the students killed in the Columbine shootings in 1999. I was a junior high student at the time and even saw some of the news footage on TV. In fact, there's even still some of the footage on YouTube, and it was pretty earth-shattering. It was pretty hard to see that happening in a school. This book came out a year after the shooting and was a very impacting and heartbreaking book to read. Her mother writes about how in Casey's life in her junior high and high school years, they felt like she was walking away from them and walking away from her faith as a Christian, and they just really felt as parents that they were losing her, until I believe it was a youth retreat or summer camp or something, where Casey decided to rededicate her life to Christ and start living her faith again. And it was at that point where the two gunmen came into, I believe she was in the library, and they asked her the question, do you believe in God? And she said yes. I still find this book sometimes hard to talk about just because it was a really real and impacting event at that time. This book really impacted me at that age, not so much the death and the shooting of Casey, but the rest of her life and how she lived her life and how she rededicated her life to God. And it wasn't a thing that you do when you're on an emotional high. It became real in her life, and I loved reading about that and seeing that. Last but not least, probably one of my favorites was A Royal Pain by Ellen Conford. This book is essentially the Princess Diaries story, but it was written in 1986, so this book came first. It's about 16-year-old Abby Adams, who discovers that she's actually the princess of a tiny kingdom called Saxony Colburn. When on her 16th birthday, she finds out that she was accidentally switched at birth with the Princess of Saxony-Coburn, where her parents were vacationing at the time of Abby's birth. At first, Abby really enjoys being a princess. She's got all the perks, until she finds out that she is actually betrothed to a prince who is a total creep. In fact, I remember his favorite hobby is taxidermy, but she is being forced to marry him. So to get out of marrying Prince Creepy, she decides that it is time to become a royal pain, hoping that Saxony-Coburn will send her packing back to the USA. Out loud reading this book so much. It was so funny. Just all the antics she came up with to try and get herself out of this deal was just, it was hilarious. If you are a fan of The Princess Diaries, then you will like this book. I highly recommend it. If you have read any of these books, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to chat with you guys about them. Okay, so thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.